Loud enough? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. I should have had my music playing.
Should have gave it to me.
I ain't got none. You just put a beat on. I'm gonna talk over that thing. It should sell the thing.
You got something in you. You just ain't let it out yet. That's all.
Hey, listen, it's gonna come out in a different form, bro.
That part.
Real.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. And if you shut up, you just might learn something. Good evening. Welcome to Elevate and Illuminate, the Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Jamarcus Fields and Iron Sharpens Iron, where we inspire, uplift, motivate, empower, inform our communities. We started last week with our debut, which went well. I think everybody who came out, the premise of this is uh to empower our communities um in a vast array of different ways. Um each one teach one. That's what iron sharpening iron is all about. Um so we'll engage in many different conversations with a lot of different guests, all aimed at uplifting, empowering, and inspiring and motivating our communities. So welcome to episode 2. Got my guest on deck with us. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people?
Man, episode 2.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I'm honored. I'm honored. So
Yes, sir.
listen here, it's Thomas Hunter. I go by the name of Food Stamp, aka Mr. Omaha. Many different names because I play many different roles and I wear many different hats. I still got a little hair too, so that ain't where I wear
That part. So before we dive into the conversation, I want to again welcome y'all who just now joining us. Make sure y'all hit the like and the subscribe button, so we can empower and continue to move this mission forward. Thomas, I want to start off, because typically when you introduce yourself and people hear your name, the Thomas doesn't, they don't bat an eye at the Thomas, but when that food stamp come out, I think everybody wants to know where this name food stamp came from. Okay.
I try to make their impact all over, no matter where they go. And so, coming with that charisma, I moved my mom. My mom moved me to Elkhart, Indiana, and for some reason, I just felt out of place. And in order to make a statement, I literally just was in a think tank, like creatively, what can I do to be noticed that I'm different? You know what I mean? That I'm not from. And I literally used to wear a food stamp in my hat, the real paper coupons.
You
And,
aging yourself.
yeah,
You
for
aging
sure.
yourself because you still look young for your age. But if you had a paper food stamp, I think you just told the people
Oh
something.
yeah, yeah, man. It's real. I definitely, I ain't think about that, but yeah. So that was really my way of standing out. And you know how it is when it is in your childhood. Anything that you do is gonna hold on to you for a long period of time. You know what I mean? And so that actually became my nickname from my actions. You know what I mean? And so that was where the food stamp came from. So it's gonna be there forever, no matter. No
That
matter
part, I
one
ain't
thing.
mad at you. Like,
So they be like, well, why? Like, well, I hold on to the name because there's a history that come with that. You know what I mean? Who you thought that person were if you knew him. And then by me holding on to it, I know I kind of can gauge like where you know me from or what type of life you know me from, right? But when I tell new people and somebody else tell them my name and they say, what? I say, it's a name you'll never forget. And I just leave it like that because at the end of the day, like first impressions is everything. So you gon' if someone introduce you to food stamp and you meet me who I am today, oh man, that was the response I'm gonna get is gonna be way better than me, establishing that name. And so now it's just, it's a name you'll never forget. You know what I mean? I make my present just as such. So yeah, man, it's been a journey.
That part. Okay, so you also hit us with the not just the food stamp, but you hit us with a Mr. Omaha Omaha. What is the
Man,
Omaha Omaha about? Where that come from?
yes, sir, yes, sir. So man, listen. Mr. Omaha Omaha was like gifted to me by God Himself, right?
Say that then.
So I happen to be this vision, you know what I mean, just always in a think tank, right? And I was doing a speaking engagement seminar with you with Iron Sherman's Iron, one of like our first events that I spoke at, one of the one or two, I can't think of it, but it was almost like I don't know what happened that day, but it just came over me to adopt that. It was like the concept. So once again, my Chicago background, like me being a diehard Bears, Bulls, Chicago, everything, it takes something real, real significant to get you to do something that's opposed to that, right? Mr.
Mhm.
Omaha Omaha is famous, well, was made famous. Well, not Mr. Omaha, but Omaha was made famous by the great Peyton Manning, who played for the Indianapolis Colts. And
Right.
when the Bears did make it back, the Indianapolis Colts was the ones who beat, Peyton Manning. Just he did his thing and beat the Bears. So I should be a real live hater, you know, but something doing in the community, man, you know, uh, I mean, taking over hospitals and he's doing a whole lot. Like his philanthropy is so dynamic to where it just sat with me. And because he's arguably one of the greatest, quarterback of all times, some of the things that he done that he said resonated. And Mr. Omaha, I mean, like Omaha Omaha was that when he was behind, his center getting the football. And I don't actually that this is the first time I'm gonna admit this to you, but I really created my own definition of what it meant when he said Omaha, Omaha, because that's what it meant to me. And so I
Okay.
used that definition and applied it. And so when I announced myself as saying I'm Mr. Omaha, Omaha, because when Peyton Manning was calling plays out, when he yelled Omaha, Omaha, in my head, he meant audible, shift. He was calling out plays that only his team would know because he was recognizing what the defense was getting ready to do. And so I took that, you know, and as an analogy to my life. There's no difference. We coming from the food stamp era to the Thomas or the Omaha Omaha era, right? It was a shift that happens in my life. And when that shift happened in my life, for some reason, it just came to me just to use that and adopt it. And the response that I got from it, keep it. You know what I mean? Keep it. You know what I mean? And just keep on. And so I've been actually molding it, over the course of me, just going doing different speaking engagements. And it's kind of one that's sticking around for a while too. So look forward to be seeing more of Mr. Omaha Omaha.
Yeah, it's definitely something that stick because I have found myself referring to your terminology and your analogy when I speak to individuals. Because some of them have heard the terminology so much that I adjust it to when it's time to try something different in life. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like you call it an Omaha. Um, so we know it's a lot of history between us,
Yes, sir.
and people don't. Our history, go way back. With us both being justice involved, being in the facility. We've kind of watched and helped each other through this transition, this transformational stage to become who we are today and doing the work that we do out in the community. Um,
Mm.
Coming back out, I want you to share a little bit before we go back too far and dig into the story. I want to touch on um your reentry back into society. Because your reentry was a little different than the common reentry.
Right.
So I want you to share a little bit about that process and the Omaha that you had to go through in your reentry process.
Omaha, Omaha, most definitely. So yeah, so my I was because it was early and I do still have time hanging, in a sense. I still am restricted basically to, and I was started off on home monitoring and GPS system. And the GPS monitoring was an experience within itself. Now I do still have some of those restrictions, but I have, the GPS is gone. And so what the courts did was they said, Mr. Hunter, you have done everything that you said you have done. We've seen a lot here. We're going to give you an opportunity. And the opportunity they said, but however, we're going to just transfer your sentence to be doing it, you know, via house arrest. And so I was literally supposed to be on the GPS system until 2029. I've been off the GPS system for already 3 months, and I've been home for a total of 17 months, 18 months, about
Okay,
18.
hold on. Let me make sure I got this and make sure the listeners got this. So
Okay.
you came home, you modified out,
Right.
which allowed you to get out 6.5 years earlier than you were supposed to
Right.
on home detention
A home detention.
until 2029.
Right. That was actually
And
supposed to be, yes.
and you came out when?
I came out September of 2022.
Wow. So okay, so they gave you the rest of your sentence
The rest of my sentence,
on home detention.
yes.
Okay, got you. And
Right.
you've been out for about 17 months and the monitor is off.
The monitor is off already. Yeah, God be the glory, man. The monitor, the monitor off for about, since January, so almost 90 days, about 80 days or so. So I literally went, to the court. So I did hire an attorney, for my modification, but I don't know if you can go see the footage, but I literally, instructed my attorney just to introduce me to the court and I'll do the rest. And so I pretty much have been representing myself. And so I went back into the court, just with the stuff that I do in the community. And so one of the things I've learned throughout this process is that a lot of things that you do is undocumented when you do it from the heart. Like, so if you take a class, you may get a certificate of completion. If you go to college, you may get a degree. But when you do things out of the kindness of your heart and you really helping your fellow, brother or comrade or neighbor, when you're doing it out of the kindness of your heart, there's no credibility for that. There's no credit, there's no documentation. And so when I represent myself in the courts, I present the things that they can't find out through documentation, right?
Mm,
Character
okay.
owes those things. And so yeah, they man, listen, they actually allow me to, take the GPS off. My restrictions have, they're not completely gone, so I still have some regulation, but I'm allowed to move around as I need to. As long as I'm still doing the right thing, right, as it is with anyone who's been released. And so I actually still have a sentence that they are requiring of me, but I mean, I can't tell I'm doing it, man. I mean, I'm not in that lifestyle no more. So it's just like an overseer for the situation. So that was pretty much how I made it home and progressing since. I'm still supposed to be in the house every single day unless I'm going to work or doing a community event until 2029, and that no longer is my case. And so that was one hurdle I had to overcome. But if you allow me, I get into you to another hurdle that I ran into. Just
Please do.
so another hurdle that I had to go through, man, and I think it's big, and I don't know where all your viewers are from, but housing, housing. So I'm my biggest critic, and you know I'm a little bit harder on myself than a lot of people. A lot of people say, they can listen to these success stories and, they're like, man, this guy's doing good. He's doing great. But within myself, I'm like, man, I know I can do better you know and so I ran into a hiccup that others may run into, and it's definitely some that I would like to get into when I'm a little bit more established. But I ran into a housing crisis. So one of the requirements for me coming home was that you had a secure place to live, a safe and a secure place to live. And so I actually moved on my own. I'm actually with a family member. We just went half, got us a 2-bedroom house, and excuse me. And we lived for about 7 to 8 months in peace until our landlord actually lost their property. And so new landlords, new owners came in, and when they came in, they said, "Well, hey, listen, we got to work something out. We know what your lease says, but we're going to put you on month to month. But the expectation is for you to leave."
Wow.
So so basically, was to basically refurbish the home and resell it. They was buying it to flip, and so our time was shortened on how long we was able to stay in. And so my family member who I actually stayed with, he actually moved out to a different city, actually the city where he worked at, and I kind of was stuck in the limbo. So what I did was, being this gifted person who God created, who I am, I say, well, listen, I came out here with a plan. I stick to my plan. Wasn't probably ready for it, but however, I tried to pursue my plan, and so I went and got approved, pre-approved for a loan for a home. And so that was the way I chose to channel my hurdle. And I went, found a place. My mentor actually sent me a location. I went and got my pre-approval letter and made an offer on the house. I actually lost the offer. In the process of me losing the offer, the rental process was still going on, because if A don't happen, I must do B, right? So I'm thinking that I'm planning everything accordingly, but I didn't know how hard it would be for people to rent to me. So most public places don't necessarily rent to people under circumstances.
Okay.
So what happened was I had to find private landlords to even engage in conversations, because people was charging me these $50, $35, even $75 for application fees. And then, because their application to say, well, if you was convicted, 7 years ago or less. So I say, well, my conviction was 20 something years ago. Let me. And what ended up happening was, it was smoke screen, and so I literally had to go stay with some close friend of the family. And I stayed there for 2 months, and I literally just got a place that literally stood on what their requirements were, um, as far as the 7 years back. And one of the things I didn't want to do was I didn't want to keep myself in a situation where I had to keep on depending on people to do everything for me, because that's kind of like what they do when you get incarcerated is they create a certain dependency, and
Yep.
start to depend on them for so much that that's how you start to live your life. And when you come over, you know, I wanted to make sure I was able to get my independence, and so I finally just did that and overcame that hurdle. And so, but the housing thing, it was a big deal, and I think that a lot of people, who do have plans of those things, it'll be easier if you have your things in order. It'll be easier to go off into home ownership than it would be to rent, just from a general, contractor, landlord, or whoever it may be, just on a day to day for people in our circumstances. So that was a learning curve that I had to deal with. And hopefully, with my experience, I'm able to help others in those situations, who may have to go through that, you know. So yeah, that definitely that was a big hurdle. That right there had me whew, off balance.
Bro, that was three different hurdles you just gave us. Like, it brings more understanding to the Omaha, because in each one of those situations you had to call an audible. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, because whether you/we realize things in the moment, God is always at work moving pieces. And a lot of times we don't understand the movement of the pieces, because the way the pieces are moving aren't the way we plan for them to move.
right.
And so I'm looking at everything you went through, just looking at the dynamic of coming home, dealing with the complexities of being on home detention. Then you run into the housing situation.
Yeah,
And in the midst of all of this, you still doing community outreach.
mandatory.
Like, and didn't miss a beat. But in the midst of all this, like, you still digressing, setting yourself and your problems on the shelf
Mm,
to go and serve the community. And I
mm.
bear witness to that, because you didn't miss an event. And if you hadn't just shared that, like, I know I didn't, and the people wouldn't have knew that you was going through everything that you was going through, while you still was giving of yourself so much to help
Yeah,
the community. Man, I salute and honor that, bro.
you made that sound so good. You hear me? Like I'm like, man,
Hey,
what's doing all that?
hey, that's real though, especially as you just pointed out, coming from an environment
Yeah,
that pretty much breeds us to
yeah,
be dependent and lazy.
yes, it
So
does.
to come out here and have the discipline and the willpower
Mhm.
to stay the course in the midst of all this chaos. Because,
Right.
like, you was calling Omaha every move.
Every move. Listen,
Wow.
every move. See, and you explain it like that. We are like therapists or something. You know what I mean? We can help everybody problems but our own. You know what I mean? And just explained it using my terminology for me. I'm like, I was I was walking what I was talking. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, yeah, it's real. I mean, that is the life, man. Because if you don't audible, man, the defense is there, and they don't get tired. You know what I mean? Like,
Man,
it
that
plays,
part.
man.
Man, so we just touched on the community outreach work that you've been doing.
Mhm.
Uh Talk to us about that. What all you got going on, what you doing? Uh Bring us into your world a little bit.
Okay. Man, should I start off with the thing I had to turn down?
Attorney, for what?
Oh man. Yeah, man. Iron sharpens iron, man. Listen, man, Jamarcus, I applaud you as well, my brother. I mean, you created a platform, man. And for people who don't know, one of the programs that we do for Iron Sharpens Iron that I kind of spearhead, is a mentorship at the Tolson Center here in Elkhart, Indiana. The Tulsa Center was real big when I first moved to Indiana in the '90s because in the '90s, Sean Kemp is actually from this county, in this city, and so it was Kemp's Court, and it was a bunch of it was like a basketball fever town, and I love basketball, and the Tulsa Center was the center that kind of like the whole community gravitated toward, and something happened while I was gone away or whatever to where they weren't funded anymore, and so now they've regrouped. The community got back behind it. They got a brand new facility, and they want to do new things. So they went from being a youth center to a community center, and
Okay.
so I seen it as an opportunity to be able to, to give back to the community. This is the things that I did not like about, learning all that stuff in those institutions, is that you could learn so much without an opportunity to apply it or practice it. And so I had yearned to be able to just my cup had run it over. I was yearning to just come and just give some of the stuff I had been built up with. And when I seen the opportunity, I immediately had a few conversations, and then I gave you a call. But the mentorship, we mentor young boys from ages 10 to 17 on Saturday mornings, and we actually about to start doing field trips because we didn't kind of fill the ears up. Now we going to put some of this stuff to work. But the mentorship, for a lot of people who don't know, that's iron sharpens iron kind of rolls, without you even having to be present, because we still have things functioning from a foundation and a platform that you laid. So we got to update you on what your organization got going on because the foundation is so solid. So just that's why I big up to you, whether you recognize or not, the foundation is solid, my brother. You built it on a rock, sure.
That
uh
part.
so the mentorship, one of the things about Iron Sharpens Iron is, we deal with prevention is one of the key elements that we deal with. Intervention, especially when it comes to the youth. We do have some young boys who've been arrested. uh I think each and every last one of our boys have had some sort of encounter with the law or some form of justice system, be it come through schools or just being in the street. And so that's one of my obligations that I have every Saturday morning, um, which actually fulfills me. So no matter what I got going on, um, I got to be like close proximity, in the legal term, to the total center, for Saturday mornings, just to make sure that I'm able to always be present. You know what I mean? In these young men, I'm actually just starting to build some relationships with some of their parents. So if Tosin was to fall down and not exist, if Iron Sharpens Iron was to move to Canada, I would still have the relationships that I built, in the immediate community where these kids are being raised up at. And so, that's just pretty much like, one of the things I wanted to do just as a person. And Iron Sharpens Iron gave me that platform to do that, in a structured way. So that's just one of the main. I'm actually proud of that. That because I mean we focus so much on um, you know whatever it is that we focus on. A lot of people say they want to help the kids and they want to do this, but I'm just showing my actions. And so it's a blessing that I have like anywhere between 4 to 7 other adult men like who literally come just to support and participate in the mentorship from time to time. And so that's one of the things I have going on. Outside of the other Iron Sharpens Iron events, because Jamarcus keep us with something going on at all times. Uh, Doing seminars and such. I also have I am actually a board member for Senior Resource Network.
Okay.
And Resource Network, man, listen, so this one kind of fell in my lap, right? So one of our Iron Sharper Iron brothers, Big Ira White, he introduced me to Maria Fleming now. Um, I say that because she's married. So she has a new last name. But so um he introduced me to her. We did an interview on her show. The interview is probably still up on Facebook, PBS and WNIT. And so it was about what the things that we're doing in the community. And from that
Okay.
interview,
Real quick before we get too far, what is Senior Resource Network?
so Senior Resource Network, in in a nutshell, is an annual list for seniors.
Okay.
So basically, the organization that Senior Resource is basically what we do is we create a network. We're the hub, and we create a network of trusted local professionals for each and every city and community in the state of Indiana. Excuse me. We're starting with the Michiana area because that is where the CEO resides, and that's where we have the most resources. Um, but basically, our in the state of Indiana, we're like almost last, if not last, at senior care, like out of all
Okay.
states. And so we know that is a great underserved community. People who are familiar with this is calling it the silver tsunami because within the next 8 to 10 years, the senior population will be greater than the population 18 years and under. And so
Mm.
this would be a huge population that we as a state haven't addressed. Now, I went through some other growing pains when I was out because I was so ambitious by getting scammed a few times, right? And not working this right. So just imagine me being, a little bit on the intelligence side, competent and all that, getting scammed and running into these things. Just imagine what's going on with our seniors, right? They're the ones who get scammed the most, and because we, in this state haven't addressed it as an emergency, then they'll continue to get scammed until something is put in play. So Senior Resource Network is basically we're creating like an Angie list for seniors. So you'll be able to call one number and we'll be able to refer you to a trusted local professional in your city that'll be able to address all your needs. And so if you need Medicaid, there'll be a referral for that. If you need a dog walker, there'll be a referral for that. If you need your car fixed, there'll be a referral for that. And so we're basically putting all these organizations who have a good track record, who has been vetted, to do good business with the seniors. And by being a member of our network, you'll have access to certain discounts and things like that.
Right.
But however, it was something that was highly needed. And while I had yearned to be able to help the youth and help other ones who was in situations that I come from, that I've overcame, the senior was one that was really kind of like untapped. And so when it fell into my lap, I said, that's another unserved community. And I think about some of the things that I've been through and, just some of the stuff that my friends and stuff is going through as it relates to caretaking for their senior parents or grandparents and things of that nature. And what's happening is a lot of us don't realize what's going on until one of our loved ones is in that situation. So basically, we're just trying to take the bull by the horns. We actually do have um, a gala coming up um, uh, on the 4th of May. Yeah,
Okay.
November, the 4th of May. I don't know if I could put it in the. I probably couldn't put it in the. I don't know if I could put it in the comments or not. But the gala is going to be at the Century Center in South Bend. Um, Called a Night to Remember, where we're basically fundraising to be able to continue the efforts that's networking is doing with getting all these communities together. It's going to be it's already starting to be something good. I actually invited some of the primary. I invited the mayor. We invited all the mayors from this local community. Whether they show
Wow.
whether they show or not, I mean that's on them, because if there's a community in your city that's being underserved, you got the opportunity to be the first at it, right? And so,
Hmm.
especially for these politicians, that's going for votes and things of that nature. Every last one of us, in some form or some fashion, has a connection to a senior, and that is starting to become just as important as addressing the youth. Um, in our communities. I actually I actually wrote a paper one time in school, right? Well, I was actually a teacher, a peer mentor. I was a tutor, and our supervisor had said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to the General Assembly. They're discussing board budgeting and what programs they want to keep and cut out, and they're talking about cutting adult education. At this time, I'm tutoring guys to get their GED, which in Indiana is now the TAS test, and I'm like, stop adult education. When I had a girlfriend in high school, when I was in 10th grade, well, let me see. She was in 10th grade. I was in 11th grade. Her mom was in 12th grade. We all went to the same school.
What?
Yeah, it's real.
Make this make sense, man.
Yeah, this is what I'm telling. Adult education. So it was personal to me. I'm like, because that was so big. I mean, I know she was like embarrassed, your mom going to school with you, but that was big. You know what I mean? To be able to have a parent that literally is taking classes while her kids is taking classes, right?
It's taking classes, right?
So me tutoring in these facilities, I knew how important adult education was. And so what I did was, and at this time, this is about 18 or 19. So I started it off like make America great again. Like literally just through. Now this is going to the Indiana General Assembly. I still got the copy of the letter somewhere. But
Right.
I wanted to make a statement, to let them know, like, in order to make our country great, you can't alienate an entire population from any form of education.
Absolutely.
Those are we can't, like the Indians. One of the reasons they kind of like fell apart a little bit is because a lot of their information was passed down through storytelling, and so over the period of time, those stories making change, right?
Mhm.
And so it ain't so if you allow people to get educated, you know what I mean? Because if someone was 16 when they had a child and they had to stop educating themselves to be able to take care of their child, now you got a child raising a child who's uneducated. But if they have the tenacity and the willpower to make that up at a later age in their life, but it's not offered to them, then that entire population from there on up is at a
Yeah.
disadvantage. And
Yeah.
the only thing they can pretty much do is story tell, right?
Hmm.
So the lessons are only experience based, right? And so, so yeah, I definitely wrote a letter and sent it in with her because she was actually going down there to the legislative, I think it was. Um, but yeah, so that was a big deal. But yeah, so I know the senior community is great, man. Um, and that's an issue we need to address. So, um, Senior Resource Network, man, I had to be a part of it, man, because underserved community. If I could do just a little bit, what I mean, to help one or two people, man, it'd be that much better for the community. So those are the two primary iron sharpens iron, my iron sharpens iron stuff, and as if the listeners don't know, we deal with um, those incarcerated and those coming home from incarceration. Um, that's near and dear to me because of my situation.
Okay.
The youth, which was we actually addressed in Iron Sharpers Iron because we definitely want to help those to never have to go through what we went through.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
so the prevention area is definitely want to put focus on that, and without spreading myself too thin, just make sure that I'm still present to make sure that the seniors at least starting to get some of the attention. That they I'm gonna give you one because I know you want to redirect this, but I'm gonna just give you one statistic.
Come on.
In Elkhart, I want to say that it's the city or the county. Don't quote me, but I googled this, so you can Google it too. I googled the number of youth organizations in Elkhart, right? And it said about 66. I did the same thing for seniors, and one of them registered. It's two organizations in this place that addresses senior care,
Wow.
and this is about to be one of the population.
Mm.
Link up, man. Y'all organizations, man, in your city, link up. Let's get it, man. So yeah, what's
Hey,
got to do, man? Make an impact.
hey, definitely, man. And you already know iron sharpens iron motto, man. We're stronger together, man.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so that's what this platform is about, informing, empowering our communities. You know what I mean? Because you just gave us some stuff in terms of the senior population that we probably either didn't know or like didn't register. Like you said, a lot of times you don't really pay attention to stuff until it hit your front porch.
Yeah.
And then now it becomes an issue that we want to address, but it's been an issue the whole time. Um, so you total opposite ends of the spectrum. So you dealing with the juveniles and you dealing with the seniors and everybody in between.
Yeah.
I love it. I want to ask you a question though, because you know, when we came back out here to society, man, really before we came back out here, because we started to see it inside the facilities, because the guys that started coming in, we were seeing these youngsters come in
Hmm.
and seeing their paradigm and their philosophies on life. And so I say, when you're dealing with the juveniles, what are some of the concerns in terms of the direction that the youth in our society are headed? So even if it's not something that you've noticed or pinpointed, but just coming back out here and seeing the lay of the land and the nurture of the youth, what are some of the things that concern you that you make it your intent to focus on when it comes to these youth?
Uh, so my thing for me personally is consistency with the youth, right? Um, I see the youth is dealing with a lot of issues that I dealt with, but I don't know how I even dealt with it actually. So my issues was abandonment and neglect, right? That's how I felt, from just feeling like I was doing everything alone, like I was a loner in a sense. And it seems like a lot of the youth out here, some of the things that they got going on in their households is where a person can be present but not necessarily present, right? And I think that the abandonment issues, man, I think they realer um than we take note of. And also some of the so I don't even know who started it, but the mental health awareness that you guys did, right? So I was a board member for um another nonprofit organization for the SAL, Sons of the American Legion. And
Okay.
we actually was partner because if you SAL, you got to be connected to an American Legion post, right? And so dealing with those guys, those military guys, that's actually one of the things that they did. So I was familiar with the challenge because that's actually what military guys do to support their fellow, military personnel. Um, and so the mental illness thing was something that we dealt with because actually like they don't even put the D in PTSD anymore. It's not post traumatic stress syndrome. I mean, what's the D for?
Disorder.
It's
Disorder.
they no longer use the D. It's just PTS to them. Because I don't know why, but I know they don't use a D. I actually forget they told me one time. But the reason I bring that up is because now we starting to see the effects of us as adults with our mental health issues that's sprinkling onto these kids. And
Hmm.
kids, are dealing with issues that sometimes if we're not in their home, they shouldn't necessarily be dealing with. How are you 13 years old and depressed? How are you like literally, like they literally go through some of these things that we go through as adults. And so I think those are some things that we definitely need to tackle. But for the most part, man, I think because they are still impressionable,
Hmm.
you know, consistency with just your presence alone can start to help, you know, uh, influence these young men and women. I see it myself, just because now I'm at a point to where I have some young men that actually have conversations with me that they won't necessarily have at home.
Right.
So the beautiful thing is about it is like, you know, they're still impressionable, and they're still at a stage to where they need to find an identity. And that's one of the goals in the mentorship, is to expose them to things outside of what they would have otherwise.
Right.
You know, and so I think exposure is definitely a great deal too for people, especially in inner cities. Um, for the most part, because most inner cities are pretty much a conglomerate of the same thing. It's just in a different location. And
Yes,
so
sir.
deal with the same issues, and it's only a very few people who take that chance and go outside of the norms of what they are seeing in their community. And I, another similar situation, and I'm looking forward to this. So I'm calling Ira out. Listen, brother Justice, and so we was actually taking kids to the symphony last year, um in South Bend.
I
And
remember that.
I missed a few times because of my restrictions, of course. But when I started to go and I went, I invited some kids that weren't a part of any program. I just knew them and knew their parents. And we probably picked the worst one because there was a language barrier. We went to one that was for Latin community, but we just had access to these musicals, And I'm like, for all these kids that want to be rappers and want to be artists and all these different things, let me expose them to something that maybe they'll see that I didn't see. I've never been to a symphony. And I
Right.
asked each and every one of those kids, ask your parent, have they ever been to one? None of their parents have ever been to a symphony. And so now, hopefully we're expecting to start to take more kids and expose them to different things like that, because we don't know. As adults we have responsibilities, so our imagination kind of dwindles over a period of time. There's
Hmm.
still an age where they still have imagination,
Right.
and so if we can keep some of the responsibility away and allow their imagination to flourish, by exposing them to things they wouldn't have seen otherwise, then I think we give them a greater chance to not want to like the things that they see on the corner.
Wow. Yeah, I asked that question because when dealing with these youth, we have to, you we have a we have to face the reality of the situation. And we operate in this reentry space, and this justice involved space. And that reality is that here in Indiana, there's a little over 49,000 men incarcerated in the Department of Corrections.
Mm, wow.
There's a lot of men missing, not just from the community, but missing from these homes.
Oh yeah.
missing out of these kids' lives. You know what I mean? And that's a component that's desperately needed.
Yeah.
Um, and in a lot of ways, when you really pay attention to these youngsters, not just watch them, but like literally pay attention and trying to understand them, they're looking for something.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody's so busy and counting them out that nobody's giving them that nurturing that they need.
Right.
You know, the first word came out of your mouth when I asked you about that was consistency.
Yeah.
They get enough people telling them what they're doing wrong.
School, parents,
They
family.
yeah, they get enough of that. They get enough of people talking at them
Mm-hmm.
versus actually being there.
Yeah.
One of the most important questions you can ask, how you doing?
Mm.
Like, and mean it. I
Yeah.
don't mean like,
Mm. You froze up, my brother. Mm.
okay, I don't know what that was. I don't know what just happened.
Hey, hey, it wasn't the eclipse, I tell you that.
It looked like it was. Like my screen got bright, then it got dark.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't know what that was about, but anyway, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, through your actions,
Yeah.
proving that you care, and that means you consistently are there, and you're repeatedly asking this question,
Yeah.
not just showing up, telling somebody what they're doing wrong, and then they don't never see you again.
Mm. Yeah.
Versus being there, being present in their lives, like they look for that. You know what I mean? We were young men. You know what I mean? Like we understand the importance of a male figure
Right.
being in their lives. They all in prison, bro.
Hey, look, let me tell you, listen, let me tell your audience. Let me
Please
tell
talk to me.
what they up against if you're dealing with the youth. Now, we just got done talking about, I mentioned that sometimes people are present, but not present, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you mentioned how the male is absent from the homes, right? So bring those two together for this, right? This is what we dealing with. As a young man, what about your parent can you tell me is wrong if they tell me that it's right? Right? So I had an incident with a family member. Hey, bring him over. I got him. I'm breathed on him a little bit, you know. He come through smelling like good smoke. I'm talking about that stuff they talking about in their rap songs. You hear me? He come through, you know. And so I say, man, I say, whoa, you all right? He like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like, you're a little loud, you know. He said, oh, okay. And he just didn't think nothing of it. So I say, you and your parents, y'all doing that together? He say, sometimes. I said, okay,
Wow.
well, this what we gonna do. I went out, pulled out some cologne, sprayed him down, gave him a little bit. I say, spray yourself down. I say, so listen, I don't want to tell you that what you and your parents doing is wrong. You at an age where you should be able to judge that. I say, but what I'm gonna do is this. I say, whatever you got going on at home, that the rest of the people in society, the schools, the police, and don't like, don't bring it outside the house. Because if you do, that means you telling on your parents and you telling on yourself.
Mm.
So I tried to give it to him in a way that didn't tell him that I was his parents. You know what I mean? Like I'm not, no, they didn't let you come with me for me to talk about them, down them, or anything like that. But you're gonna have a choice to choose between right and wrong. Because if everybody outside your home think it's wrong, then you got to be looking at it from a different perspective. So until you make that decision, don't tell them what's going on in your household. Spray yourself down, keep yourself in order. And that was my way of balancing and then not putting his defense up and his guards up to be able to still give him those options, right? And then, we further the conversation a little bit later, but that's some of the stuff we up against. So if I'm at home getting high with my parents, who are you to tell me that I'm wrong?
Man, ain't that it?
And so it's no
Wow.
difference. That's just that element. There's a many of things that, we as parents may teach our children that may not be in right. And so when we as mentors, is trying to impart on these children, we have to be mindful. And that's one of the reasons why I say I'm trying to build relationships with the parent as well. And so we can kind of like do it as a village, to kind of like work with each other, and it won't happen with everyone, but long as it happens with at least one, then I'm doing my part. And most likely what'll happen with anything else, your reputation will go before you, and and you will start to progress, more and more over the period of time. So just know, man, for the future mentors or the people who out there mentoring, I mean, you only got them for an hour, 2 hours, 4 hours, twice a week, or however long you got them. And so you up against a challenge. Make sure you don't become an opposition to their lifestyle, but become a resource and an asset.
Mm. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Okay, say that then, man. Hey man, I told you, boy, this hour go fast, man.
Man, hear me?
Hey, it go fast, man. I thank you for joining me tonight, man.
Uh,
Uh, any final words you want to get the audience, man?
yeah, man. So, yeah, just a little bit, man. Yes. First and foremost, man, I am a believer in God, man. Without all this, without God, none of this would be possible. Secondly, man, what's crazy about it is this: like God gave me gifts that we didn't even talk about, right? As far as business, my business is like it's explosive, and that's one of the areas in my life that I haven't even fully tapped into yet. It's another hurdle I'm attempting to overcome. And so
So you telling me I'm gonna have to have you back for a part two?
listen, part two, like you definitely gonna have to have me back for a part two. Um,
Say part two of a 5-part series.
hey, listen, Omaha, Omaha, it's it's shifting going on. It's gonna,
Yes, sir.
know what I mean? But in the process, whatever it is that I create, man, I'm gonna bring people along the way, man. So everything that I do, man, I do it because I'm led to do it. I don't post a lot of stuff on social media, which I probably should post a little bit more, but that's because, you know, I just do stuff because I do it out of the kindness of my heart. I'm led to do these things. I don't do it for any recognition or for credibility or anything like that. I literally want to see my people, in my community. And my people is considered anybody in my community who I can reach, I can touch. If I can get you on the phone, you're my people. And so if I can reach them and to be able to impart something on them, then that was gifted for me to give to them. I pledged my life to God that I would. So, last thing. So, I literally pledged my life to becoming an asset and being of value to anyone I run across. And
Mhm.
I only run across you once. If nothing else, I probably tried to open a door for you.
Right.
Women. We back. We coming back. Listen, they letting us out in droves. Allow the gentlemen to be gentlemen, please. I love to open a door. You don't have to be my spouse for me to do that for you. You can be an elder. You can be just a woman who just, you know, one of these times we understand y'all tired. Allow us to play our roles. It's a few of us out here who's doing it. Hopefully that can be contagious, to let the other brothers come and do the same, man. So listen, man, I'm here. I'm here for the community. Right now, I'm working in Elkhart and South Bend primarily, St. Joe and Elkhart counties. Um, and so, if there's anything else that we can do, y'all can link up with Jamarcus. He do have my contact information. Look out for Senior Resource the Gala, man. Listen, you want to know more about the seniors? We also, man, the time gone. We also in the Michiana area, if you know anybody over 99 years of age, we are trying to honor the oldest person in the Michiana area at this gala. And so that's how we doing it for the seniors, man. We doing a silent auction at the gala, all type of stuff, man. Listen, it's gonna be a big deal. So yeah,
And
man.
when is the date of the gala again?
The gala is Saturday, May the 4th at the Century Center in South Bend.
What
Yeah,
time?
get tickets from 7 to 11, 16 or 7 to 11. I think it moved to 7 to 11, if I'm not mistaken. But get you some tickets, sponsor you a whole table, bring some seniors, bring your organization. If you want to partner with us, just Jamarcus will get you my contact information.
Yes, sir. I thank y'all for joining, Elevate and Illuminate. Hopefully we informed, inspired, motivated, uplifted, empowered you. Um, at some point through this conversation, if not for the duration of this conversation, uh, Iron Sharpens Iron can be reached at Iron Sharpens Iron, WAST.org. That is Iron Sharpens Iron, WAST.org. You can also reach us by email, Iron Sharpens Iron 26 at gmail.com. Check us out, get involved. We doing got a lot of events coming up. We got some community outreach events, some meet and greets. We got seminars going on, uh, fundraisers. We got a lot of stuff coming up. And if you tap into the website, you can kind of get into the upcoming events that we got, tap into our calendar, see what we got going on. As well as different ways to not just to support, but to also donate to Iron Sharpens Iron. I appreciate y'all time and being a respecter of time. We're gonna go ahead and get out of here. We elevate, we illuminate every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern, YouTube, same place, same time, different day. Y'all be blessed. Thank y'all for joining us. Thomas, Food Stamp, Mr. Omaha, Omaha.
Yeah,
Appreciate you,
yeah.
boy. Love y'all. Good night.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.